January 4th, 1903. A freezing wind is coming off the ocean, but a massive crowd is packed shoulder to shoulder against the wooden barricades of the half-built amusement park. They aren't waiting for a roller coaster. They're shivering in the cold, waiting to watch a 3-ton Asian elephant die. The setting is Coney Island, at a property that's soon going to be christened Luna Park. The elephant standing in front of this restless crowd is named Topsy. And she's not just standing on the dirt. Park attendants have carefully, very deliberately, strapped these heavy copper-lined sandals on her feet. Right away, you know this isn't just some standard culling. This is a highly specific, totally calculated technological display. The executioners are gearing up to send 6,600 volts of direct current straight through those copper shoes. I mean, that is a staggering amount of lethal force just poised to strike. But what's really wild, standing just a few yards away from the kill zone, completely unfazed by the danger, are Thomas Edison's cameramen. They've got their lenses cranked and they are absolutely ready to capture this death-on-motion picture.
So how did Topsy get to this grim finale? We've got to rewind a bit. Her story starts way back around 1875 when she was smuggled into the US from Southeast Asia as a calf. For decades, she was basically a workhorse for the Gilded Age circus circuit, hauling wagons and giving rides. But then, sometime in the 1890s, a spectator thought it'd be a fun joke to burn the highly sensitive tip of her trunk with a lit cigar. Elephants remember. From that exact second, she became increasingly hostile. Over the next few years, she was involved in the deaths of 3 different men. The tipping point came in 1902 when she killed an abusive, drunk handler named James Fielding Blount, who, by the way, had tried to feed her a lit cigarette.
Fast forward to 1903, and the developers of Luna Park, Frederick Thompson and Elmer Dundee, take over the property. And guess what? They inherit Topsy. To them, she was just this massive liability that absolutely nobody wanted. Their first idea was to publicly hang her, which, sounds completely insane, and they even heavily advertised it as a spectacle. But the ASPCA actually stepped in. They threatened legal action, protesting that hanging a 3-ton animal was just way too cruel. So that blocked hanging, forced a compromise. It led to a very deliberate alternative, electrocution.
Now, why electrocution? It wasn't just a random choice. To get it, we really need to look at the cultural vibes of the era. Just a decade earlier, America was locked in this bitter feud called the War of Currents. On one side, you've got Thomas Edison fiercely defending his direct current. On the other side, George Westinghouse and Nikola Tesla are backing alternating current, which could travel longer distances way more cheaply. This wasn't just a nerdy science debate, it was a vicious, high-stakes commercial battle for the power grid of the entire country.
And the weapon Edison used to fight his rivals? It all boils down to a single, vanished word: Westinghoused. Here is a massive perspective shift for you. Edison, the guy we know for the light bulb, resorted to a truly macabre PR stunt. He literally funded public demonstrations where stray dogs, calves, and even a full-grown horse were electrocuted using his rival's alternating current. The whole goal was to prove AC was inherently lethal. Edison's employees even coined the word Westinghoused as a brand new slang for getting electrocuted. They literally tried to turn their competitor's name into a synonym for violent death.
That lobbying totally weaponized public fear. It worked so well that it birthed a completely new invention, the electric chair, adopted by New York State in 1890. And guess what powered it? Alternating current. Exactly because Edison had so thoroughly associated AC with death. The horrific irony here is that the very first man executed in this chair, William Kemmler, suffered a botched execution. It took 8 agonizing minutes. It was so bad that witnesses were passing out and reporters were literally vomiting in the observation room.
Which brilliantly illustrates the dark synergy of January 4th, 1903. You have 2 totally separate agendas crashing together. Luna Park's developers desperately needed a way to kill an elephant that the ASPCA would actually approve. Meanwhile, the Edison Manufacturing Company, even though they'd largely lost the broader war of currents by this point, still had an active electricity as death propaganda machine humming along. So Edison's company offered to hook up the electrical gear and film the event. It was this perfect, utterly tragic convergence of corporate needs.
Okay, let's snap back to execution day. History books usually skip right over step 2. Everyone knows about the copper electrodes, but behind the barricades, the handlers were actually terrified the electricity wouldn't be enough. So just moments before the switch was thrown, they pulled off a secret, deeply morbid backup plan. Topsy was fed 460 grams of potassium cyanide, completely hidden inside a batch of carrots. Yeah, poison, just seconds before the shock.
Then came the signal. The 6,600 volts hit. Topsy stiffened instantly as smoke violently poured out of the copper sandals on her feet, and she just toppled sideways. The current ended her life in roughly 10 seconds. And through it all, Edison's cameraman just stood there, capturing the entire unblinking sequence from a single, fixed angle.
The resulting film was barely a minute long. They bluntly titled it Electrocuting an Elephant, and it was quickly shipped out through Edison's vast network of Nickelodeon parlors across the entire country. Honestly, this is the truly chilling part when you think about the audience. It was consumed as casual entertainment. People sat there and watched a highly intelligent animal die, sandwiched right between physical comedy shorts and scenic travel videos. There were zero protests, zero boycotts. Back in 1903, the execution of a dangerous animal wasn't a tragedy to the public. It was just viewed as a public service.
The whole event perfectly captures this intense intersection of industrial ego and emerging media tech. Edison didn't invent the electric chair just to kill an elephant. He invented a commercial narrative, a whole framework built around electricity as death. Topsy just happened to walk into that framework at the exact moment in history when motion pictures were capable of preserving it forever. Her suffering was casually commodified just to protect a corporate brand.
Today, more than a century later, people still debate whether this framing is entirely fair to Thomas Edison. But one fact is completely removed from debate. The footage still exists. It was recorded to be immortal, and so it is. If you pull up the digital archives right now, anywhere in the world, the smoke is still rising from those copper sandals. The elephant that Edison's men filmed falling is still falling, on loop, forever.